just doing some interesting things with your face. Like, really bright lipstick, but you're
I thought that was just supposed to be. Is that what it looks like?
So, I got me thinking, if you were to do drag, what's your drag thing?
What would my
I
drag
have a
name?
suggestion.
Yes, please.
Winnie Chester.
Wayne Chester. Wayne Chester.
Or Winnie. Winnie Chester.
Winnie Chester. I like that. All right. Well, if I do drag, I will use the name Winnie Chester. Follow me on social media. That's so funny. I actually had the pleasure of going to my first drag show in New Orleans, and what an experience that was. Especially because I didn't know that that's what I was going to do. So it was quite an experience. Really cool. Fucked with it. So who knows? Maybe that'll be my next character. But this stuff like gets to your stomach. Oh my! It's like gasoline. But yeah, y'all had a chance to explore, like run around Rome. No, I mean, yeah, it's pretty go. Hi.
Hi, my name's Ben. I thought Winchesters were great and I loved your character.
Oh, thank you.
I was just wondering whether you'd spoken to Jeffrey Dean Morgan and or Matt Cohen before doing the role?
So I actually met Matt for the first time here in February, at the last JIB13.
Yep.
Weird. It's weird, like JIB11, 13, 12, it's a couple years ago. No, I met Matt here, so I never got to speak with him until after the show. But I wish I had, because he's a fucking cool guy, and he invited me to his place in Joshua Tree. Don't know why I felt the need to tell you guys that. Y'all want to come? And then I did get to meet Jeffrey at the end of Comic-Con. I got to go, in my mind, like an all-star dinner was, I got to sit across from him and Jensen and just have like a meal, and their wives were there, their kids were there, and Meg was there, and we just got to talk to them for like, I don't know, 4 hours, shoot the shit. And he was so sweet. He gave like really, really sweet advice, because I know that he had a hard time, obviously people didn't love his interpretation of John, but he served a purpose, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And his advice to me was just to have fun. He's like, I really don't, he's like, I know you're not gonna fuck the character up. He's like, I know that also it's based on the writing. But he was like, he's like, to me what's most important is that you just have fun with the process. He's like, none of this is worth doing if you take it too serious. And I really appreciated that, because I was already feeling an immense level of pressure. We had just seen episode 1, I had no idea how everybody felt about it. We saw it at Comic-Con for the first time with 6,000 other people. So we were still processing it, and then to like be there with him, who, you know, so yeah, he was just super kind, and it really like kind of calmed me down. Not that I needed that anyway, because you guys were fucking awesome and super supportive. But yeah, he was a super cool guy. So I really liked getting to know him, and I wish and hope I could do more than maybe on his new show. Maybe I should tweet it. Thank you. I think we still have like 30 minutes. This stuff is pretty hard. We're in for it, Joe. But hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Doing better.
You were saying that of filming in New Orleans, and New Orleans is a place I'd love to go to. It's on my bucket list. Hopefully I'll make that at some point. But is there any particular areas or places in New Orleans that you went to as part of the show that you're like, oh, this is amazing, this is like I know there's like graveyard scenes and there's various different scenes like that, so is there any spots that you would recommend people to go to?
Yeah, so I don't know how accessible. When you're filming, the coolest part is that you get to go to like all these locations that are normally off limits for like the general public. But definitely go see an above ground graveyard. Super cool, really creepy. And outside of that, when we shot the last scene with the Lugaroo in episode 1, we shot at an actual like Civil War bunker that like is sinking into the ground. So it's like submerged in mud like halfway. So all that was, it wasn't like a set, it was a real location. And you can, I think, go visit that. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you can. bring bug spray though, because it's like, it's back in the swamp and it's
Oh, nice. Yeah.
not great, not great. But outside of that, I would say you gotta go see like, if you're, any of you are ever in New Orleans, and it's like, right there. But definitely go to like the Garden District is beautiful, and it's less like popular than Bourbon Street. So highly would recommend that. Yeah. Thank you. I can't stop looking. My tongue is really big too. Oh, and it's spraying out my pimple. That's great. That's really nice. Wow. I'm gonna wear some foundation tomorrow.
Hi.
Hi.
There's a lot of light there.
Yeah, welcome to my life. Don't shy away from me. Just angle that more on her face. Strobe it, blast it.
Well, I think you're there. So I had a question.
Yeah.
I remember Jensen telling that he had to prepare and train for a lot of scenes, like practicing with knife throwing in his, I don't know what it's called, but where he sleeps and stuff.
Yeah.
So how did you prepare, other than the conversations with Jeffrey Dean?
So a lot of preparation. Actually, when Jensen was there, he was really helpful. We went drinking a lot. We're really trying to understand the mind of an alcoholic. We really achieved that one. No, we did actually worked really well. I worked a lot with the stunt team in New Orleans. We trained with a bunch of stuff for future seasons too, like a bunch of different weaponry that we were hoping to get to use. But yeah, essentially, we would work 12 to 14-hour days, and right after I'd go train for an hour and a half. Like every single day of filming, just because it's also fun, and I'm not at home, or I'm not like in my hometown, so I don't have any friends there, so like what else am I gonna do? I'm making it sound terrible. We're in New Orleans, it was fucking awesome. But yeah, so we trained like a lot with swords, with knives, and we went shooting a couple times, so that was fun. Wasn't really for training, but just fun. So yeah, that's it. I would love to have done more though, and more wire work and stuff like that. We did get to do that, like strapped up to something, have 3 people jump off of a ladder and yank you through the air. But, yeah, my character gets thrown around a lot, so I had to do a lot of that. I didn't do any of that. My stunt double did. Poor guy. They launched him through the air. He bought this thing. It's like a little air ramp. And so if you ever watch episode 10 or 11, there's like a scene where there's a giant clay monster, a golem, be chill to it, and he like launches me through the air, and that's an air ramp. And so essentially what he does, there's like a big square that he steps on, and it just like spring loads him through the air, and we had to do like 4 or 5 takes of that, and that poor dude was just getting like sent into a wall over and over. I'll post a video of the first one that I think we ended up using that. Using the first take, but it was fun as hell to watch him get like launched through the wall. Happy I didn't have to do that. I don't know what your training is for that. He landed on his head like 4 times. What is the training for that? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. Obligation to applause. Like, do you guys feel like you have to do it after that?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. I put it out to the Twitter world. Any questions for Drake? Any questions for Drake? There's big questions for Drake. And I've had a question, so I'd like to ask it on behalf of the Twitter world, if that's okay. So somebody asked, did you go back and watch the Henry Winchester supernatural episode before you had your scene with Gil? Do you know if it was, because apparently it's the best scene of the Winchester's best episode, and they really loved it, and they wondered whether you did any prep before you had your Henry Winchester scene.
I did actually. The entire time we filmed, most nights, you walked out of the light, now I can't see it, it's too bright, thank you. Most nights I would go home and I would watch an episode of of Supernatural, just like try to keep the mindset of it. And I did, I ended up, before that scene, I went back and I watched, I think 2 or 3 episodes with Gil. If there is that many. No, I went back and I definitely watched that episode, because we brought the prop in and I didn't remember the little like music box. I didn't remember what that was. And so I was like, I should probably go back and rewatch that. But I did, and I loved it. I loved seeing Gil on there. He's so fucking great. And I think most of you probably had a chance to meet him. Really charismatic guy, really funny, incredibly sexual. Really good guy. But yeah, so I did get to have a chance to meet him. And then I talked to him about it for a while too, which was cool. It was really cool to like work with a lot of the alum. Is that weird to call them that? The alum?
No.
The alumni? The old timers. Like getting to work with Ruth and everybody. It was cool.
Yeah, it was an amazing, they loved that interaction between you guys, and it was almost like it was natural, so that's why I think they thought that you had done a lot of prep work for it, because it was a beautiful scene between you two, so thank you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Pretend like it was more than it was. Hi. Nice to meet you too.
I wrote it down.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, go ahead. I'm up here spitball. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, my question is, what did you think when you finished the first row of casting for the Winchester?
One more time?
What did you think when you finished your first round of casting for the Winchester? You think it was good, bad?
I think
look back.
I didn't know. The question was, what did I think when I finished my first round of the Winchesters? Of casting for the Winchesters.
Yes.
And I didn't know, actually. When I got the script, like I said, I was a fan. I thought the show was going to be crap. I got the pilot across my table and I was like, all right, these guys are just trying to like money grab a really great show. And then I read it and I really, really loved it. But I was like, I'm gonna just do what I want to do. Like, I'm not gonna play the John Winchester that's kind of there. I was like, I kind of want to make him fun and not a dick. So I just kind of went with it. So I genuinely, I sent it off and was like, there's no way they're ever gonna go for like that version of John. Like, it's not similar to Jeffrey Dean really in any way. And then once I got the call back, they said that they liked the humor. So I was like, oh, cool. Let me just like continue to lean into that. And then to find Mary, I didn't know that I was cast at this point, but to find Mary, you do these things called chemistry reads, which is essentially, I would read across from you if you were auditioning for Mary, and we would just see like what kind of chemistry that we have. I did 27 of those reads. Each read was an hour long. So I did 27 hours of chemistry reads with different versions of Mary Winchester. That was exhausting. And I think somewhere along like the 10-hour point, I was like, these guys are just fucking with me. Fuck these guys, I'm not doing this. And so I just had a really, really great time with it. Funny enough, mentioning alcohol, I don't think I've shared this story. I don't know if I should share this story, but I'm going to. With courage, baby. So in one of my chemistry reads, we did everything over Zoom. So there's a Zoom room, and in that Zoom was our director of the first episode, Glenn, the cast director, Robert, then it was Jensen Daniil, Robbie Thompson, and I want to say that's it. And then some network people are also in there, studio people are also in there. And everybody has like their camera muted. So it's like you just sitting there, and it's like, if you've ever seen like Deal or No Deal, it's like the guy in the black box kind of thing, where like a voice comes out and you have no idea who's talking. And I'm on probably hour 10 of these, day 3 or 4, and I had, the night before, I did 3 hours of chemistry reads. I was so tired, those ended at like 9 or 10, and then at like 12, right before I went to bed, I got an email from casting, and they're like, hey, can you wake up at like 7 and do another round of 3 people? And I was like, yeah, of course. I'm not going to say no. I need money. Of course, I'll do that. And so I wake up, and I'm like dead. I have bags under my eyes the whole night, and I had like no energy to do this scene. So I was like, well, I have to be flirtatious, so I just have to be like a little loose. Why not just start drinking? So I did, and I went to my fridge, I grabbed, I had 2 Modelo's, and I just brought them in. I was like, I'm not gonna get drunk, I'm just here to like, loosen up a little bit. And so I just had them off to the side, and we do the first girl comes on, we read, and then when they're talking to her, I can't dodge it, but I basically just would like crouch off screen, and I would like sip my beer, and then pop back on, so that way I wouldn't know. And everything was going great, awesome. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I think it was the second or the third girl that we were reading with, just in the camera, I was standing for my audition, and just in the camera, I totally, like in my head, thought I grabbed my water, but I had the Modelo, and I took it, and I just started like, they're giving her notes, and I'm just like, and then I look, and I see myself in the reflection, holding the Modelo, and it didn't register for a couple of seconds, so I'm just like looking at it, and then I literally went, spit my drink everywhere. I ran off to the side of the Zoom so they couldn't see me, and I was just like feeling my heart. My heart was like pounding, and I was like, these producers, these people from Warner Brothers, and the casting director, all think I'm an alcoholic. It's 8 in the morning, I'm drinking, and my heart's pounding. And I'm like, I just lost my fucking job, I'm gonna be labeled as an alcoholic, like all the thoughts were running through my head. Anyway, we get done with the last chemistry read, and they're like, hey Drake, can you wait in the waiting room for a little bit? Which happens. And I was like, yeah, of course. I go downstairs to where my managers are, and I was like, I kind of like, I sat in the chair, but I didn't sit like this because I wasn't cool at the time, I was really ashamed. And I just sat down and I was like, Peter, my manager, I might have just fucked up. And he asked what happened, and I was like, well, I don't know if they saw it or not, but I spit in the camera, so I assumed they did. And I was like, I was drinking, like, on the call, and his face, like, went white, and he was trying not to get really mad. Because that is a big no-no. It could go really wrong. Luckily, we're dealing with the actors, so. So anyway, I hear the Zoom pop back on in the other room, and usually they text you first. So I sprinted in the other room, hop back on the Zoom with everybody there, and Daniil's the one who pops on. And she's like, hey, so just wanted to ask you one, like, thank you for, first of all, 12 hours of Zoom, blah, blah, blah. I was like, of course. She's like, we have one other question for you. And I thought I got away with it at this point because they hadn't said anything. And she's like, yeah, what were you drinking? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, did you drink were you like drinking beer? And I was like, nope. Not this guy. 8 in the morning, you fucking crazy? Come on. And then I was like, oh, this? And I pulled it up and I was like, yeah. And she's like, what brand is that? And I was like, Modelo. She's like, okay. And then I was like, oh my God, guys, I'm sorry. Like, and I was starting to explain the situation, and Danielle's like, shh, 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 shh. And then she literally just goes like I can't see. I'll hold it out of frame. And she just goes, shh, 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 shh. And she's holding like a bottle of wine. And then all of a sudden, I kid you not, Glenn, Jensen, and Robbie all pop on. They all have like wine or beer. It's fucking 8 in the morning. I'm at home. I talked to Jensen about it after I got cast, and he's like, that's when I knew. That's when I knew you were a guy. And I was like, fucking 12 hours of screen test later, thanks, bud. But then that became like the ongoing joke. So like on set, when Jensen and Danielle were there, they would bring like a case of Modelo and leave it in my trailer all the time. Some of my best acting after that kind of. But yeah, so yeah, thank you so much. True story. I'm actually curious, by the way. I was about to say, if any of you are going to Jensen's panel, if any of you happen to wind up at that loser's camp, no, ask him what his version of that story is, because I'm curious if he remembers that. I know he remembers that, but I'm curious if like what his. Of course he remembers that. It's the day he met me. I'm fronting. I'm